I'm going to sort of speak in code here. The reason for it, I don't want to offend anybody that might be listening. And in fact, the intention here is to totally help the people that can hear it. That is to say that it's information for a particular kind of person that would be looking for it, perhaps at this time. What kind of situation would you put yourself in if you were wanting to move forward in a place when there was almost no support? That is to say, when you're dealing at a galactic level of finding new understanding, how would you, as a soul, I have to speak of this on the soul level in the sense that there is this transmigrating part of yourself that maintains the compassion and the wisdom primarily from lifetime to lifetime, sort of in the Buddhist sense-ish, but also very Christian. It's just a soul, however, that moves from lifetime to lifetime. But the thing about this is that the soul could just go off in a certain sense and live in perfect harmony because it's self-recognized at a soul level. However, I don't think that most souls would, and the reason I say that is that there would be this within many of them that there is a ball that's moving forward, and with that recognition, how would you as a soul help yourself and others both, and get further truth? How would you move those all forward? Now, let's pretend that souls have more collectivism in them, whereas what we consider the ego, the I sense, and when I say that, I actually mean the objective I sense. You've made yourself an object. You recognize yourself as, this. There's this objective part of you. And in that sense, we think of ourselves as an ego. This is me. But with the soul, you recognize, sure, I have this. However, even more real is actually this energetic sort of connectivity, and telepathic almost, the mental connectivity in another level. So, if there are situations on the planet that get ever more and more complex to deal with, and the level of, say, tyranny on certain planets are unparalleled, how would one inject themselves into that planet to help put an end to that tyranny, for example? It's a weird inquiry, I apologize. Well, I would think that they would have to, recognize their soul, because if they're going to input their soul matrix into a reality, they'd have to kind of have some tangible recognition so that it comes online, roughly, almost certainly when they embody themselves. Okay, so another step, however, would be that there's this recognition in it that you yourself are moving forward, you're progressing. And actually the extremes here of putting yourself into a very, very defined role, that is to say, where a culture in which egos are really the only thing recognized. Even emotions are sort of offline, and in some sense, self-introspection is also a taboo subject. So this third-person awareness is like the only major perspective that's accepted. See, this dichotomy, this tension, would provide a lot of unique understandings in the process. One would gain a lot of insight and information into the soul. That is to say, the connective drive that individuates itself within particular beings, but on a higher order is sort of the telos of this whole project in a certain sense. See, then we get really into an interesting thing that you can sort of manifest as that telos to some extent, to the degree to which you're an embodiment of the soul matrix of the planet, or not, roughly speaking, the major foundations of that telos itself. And the more and more aligned with that telos you get, the more like you are as that sort of that. Now, I know that's pretty far out stuff, but there is a logic to this in a certain way. If and only if you accept that there is a soul. Because if you don't accept that, if you just accept this body mind, then indeed this is ridiculous on a certain level, although even within that context, they do believe in developmental psychology. So rather, it's not an insane inquiry, it's just an inquiry of verifiability. Do we have any sort of verifiable test to show that there is a soul? And a lot of people would say no, but from my personal experience, I kind of know that. And I think we will know that a lot more very soon, and it's a matter of testing things like what the yogis would say, opening your heart. So there's meditations and so forth to do that, so that you can sense not only people's energies next to you, but their intelligences and other things, really strange things sometimes. So the defender of the soul matrix, in a sense, would be both the carry sort of meaning, but that meaning is also bound to it in a certain sense by justice, that they know the contours of that stream, that telos, but they have not yet manifested individually. The next move, to some extent, would be that attempt. Now, there is a swing here back from collectivity to more individualism, and with that, all the dangers that carries, because an individual, an individual is more prone to the kind of lone wolf mentality, and then dropping of compassion and empathy can be carried with it. So a strong dose of something like an attempt to help implement a soul, quote, I'm using these words lightly, right? This felt sense, connectivity between individuals, much in the way of the internet, as we are sort of antennas and internet-like sense. So that's what I mean by that soul matrix. So that, but you putting yourself into that when you've already been very much capable of it, it's this jarring extreme. You have this individual body mind that knows of that soul. So then you're almost forced, if you want to live, in a certain sense, to move in that stream, to follow a very twisty path to find a way out of that. It's sort of a rat in a cage, but you put yourself there intentionally to test the boundaries of individuality within a soul matrix.